I was an alcoholic for 25 years. Not the kind you see in movies, not the guy sleeping on a park bench with a brown paper bag. I was the other kind. The kind who shows up to work every morning, coaches his kids' baseball team on Saturdays, mows the lawn, pays the bills, shakes hands at church. I was the kind nobody suspects, and that's the most dangerous kind there is. My name's Dennis. I'm 68 years old. I've been sober for 11 years now, and I want to tell you what finally stopped me, because it wasn't rehab, it wasn't a doctor, it wasn't some big dramatic moment like you see on TV. It was a Tuesday, a quiet, ordinary Tuesday. But I'll get to that. Let me start from the beginning. I had my first drink when I was 14. My Uncle Ray handed me a beer at a 4th of July cookout. Took one sip, hated it. Tasted like wet bread. But I drank the whole thing because he was watching, and I didn't want to look soft. By the time I was 17, I was drinking every weekend with my buddies. Nothing crazy. Just beer in somebody's truck parked out by the lake. Normal stuff. At least, that's what I told myself. I married Linda when I was 22. She was 20. Prettiest girl I'd ever seen. Brown hair, freckles, laughed at everything I said. We got a little apartment on Elm Street, 2nd floor, above a laundromat. I was working at the plant, making decent money. Life was good. We had our first kid, Michael, a year later. Then Sarah came 2 years after that. Here's when it started. Not the drinking, the hiding. I'd come home from a 10-hour shift, tired, sore, and I'd crack open a beer. Then another. Then a third. Linda didn't say anything at first. Everybody drinks after work, right? But at some point, 3 became 5. 5 became 7. And I started keeping a bottle of whiskey in the garage, behind the toolbox, top shelf. I told myself it was for weekends, but weekends turned into Wednesdays, and Wednesdays turned into every night. The thing about alcoholism is, it doesn't announce itself. There's no moment where a switch flips and you think, okay, I'm an alcoholic now. It creeps. It's slow. One day you're having a beer with dinner. A year later, you can't fall asleep without 4 drinks in you. And you don't even notice the change because it happens one sip at a time. By 30, I was drinking every single day. Every single day. I'd have 2 beers when I got home. Then I'd go out to the garage for whiskey while Linda put the kids to bed. I'd come back inside smelling like sawdust because I'd make a point of handling some wood, touching some tools, so she'd think I was out there working on something. I wasn't working on anything. I was drinking alone in a cold garage, hiding from my own family. And the lying, God, the lying. How much did you have? Just a couple. You smell like booze. I spilled some in the garage. Why are your eyes red? I'm tired. It becomes second nature. You don't even think about it anymore. The lies just come out, smooth as water. And the worst part is, you start believing them yourself. Linda knew. Of course she knew. Wives always know. But she didn't say anything for a long time. I think she was scared. Scared of what would happen if she confronted me. Scared I'd get angry. Scared I'd leave. Scared of the truth. So we both pretended. We lived in the same house, slept in the same bed, raised the same kids, and we both pretended I wasn't destroying myself one bottle at a time. The first time it really showed was Michael's 8th birthday party. Linda had set up everything in the backyard, balloons, cake, the whole thing. I'd been drinking since noon. By the time the kids were playing, I was stumbling, not falling down drunk, but enough that the other parents noticed. Linda pulled me aside by the fence. She was shaking. She said, "You're embarrassing me. You're embarrassing your son." I told her she was overreacting. That's what I always said. You're overreacting. I wasn't there for a lot of things. I mean, I was physically there, sitting in the chair, standing on the sideline, eating at the table. But I wasn't present. My mind was always somewhere else. When's the next drink? Did I finish the bottle in the garage? Do I need to stop at the gas station on the way home tomorrow? That's what alcoholism does. It takes you out of your own life. Your body's in the room, but you left a long time ago. Michael started pulling away from me around 12. Stopped asking me to play catch. Stopped talking at dinner. I thought it was just a teenager thing. It wasn't. Years later, he told me he could always tell when I'd been drinking. He said my eyes would go flat, like the lights were on but nobody was home. He said it scared him. My own son was scared of me, and I didn't even know. Sarah was different. She tried to fix me. She'd bring me water. She'd say, "Daddy, do you want some coffee instead?" She was 9 years old, trying to sober up her father without even understanding what she was doing. I think about that a lot. A 9-year-old girl carrying that weight. That wasn't her job. That was mine. At 38, I lost my position at the plant. They didn't fire me outright. They called it a restructuring. But I knew. I'd been showing up late, calling in sick, making mistakes I never used to make. My foreman, Dave, pulled me aside a week before it happened. He said, "Dennis, I've known you 15 years. What's going on with you?" I told him I was fine. I was always fine. That's the word, fine. It's the alcoholic's favorite lie. I got another job within a month. Lower pay, worse hours. Linda picked up shifts at the grocery store to cover the difference. She never complained, not once. But I could see it in her face. This quiet exhaustion. Not from the work. From me. From living with me. From pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. The money thing got bad. I was spending $200, $300 a month on liquor. More some months. I'd go to different stores so nobody would notice how much I was buying. The cashier at the gas station on Route 9, the liquor store on 5th, the grocery store across town. I had a whole rotation, a whole system built around making sure nobody could see the full picture. That's the thing. You put more effort into hiding the drinking than you ever put into stopping it. At 42, Linda gave me an ultimatum. She sat me down at the kitchen table, hands folded, voice steady, and said, "Dennis, I love you, but I can't do this anymore. You either get help, or I'm taking the kids and leaving." I promised I'd stop. And I did. For 3 weeks. 3 miserable, shaking, sweating weeks. Then one night, I was in the garage looking for a screwdriver, and there it was. A bottle I'd forgotten about. Half full. I stood there staring at it for maybe 10 minutes. And then I drank it. All of it. Standing right there in the garage, in the dark. Linda didn't leave. She should have. But she didn't. I think she stayed because of the kids. Or maybe because she still loved the person I used to be before the drinking took over. Either way, she stayed. And I kept drinking. And we kept pretending. My 40s are mostly a blur. I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but it's not. Whole years I can't account for. I remember moments, fragments. Michael's high school graduation. I was there. I'd had 4 drinks before the ceremony. Sarah's first boyfriend coming over for dinner. I was polite, charming even. Nobody knew I'd been in the garage for an hour before he arrived. Christmas mornings where I was present but not really there. Just a body in a chair, smiling at the right times. The health stuff started at 48. My doctor told me my liver enzymes were elevated. He asked me how much I drank. I said a couple beers on the weekend. He looked at me like he didn't believe me, because he didn't. He said, "Dennis, I'd recommend cutting back." Cutting back. Like I was having 1 too many glasses of wine with dinner. I was drinking a 5th of whiskey every 2 days. But I nodded, said okay, and kept doing exactly what I was doing. At 52, my hands started shaking in the morning. Not a lot, just a tremor. Enough that I couldn't hold a coffee cup steady until I'd had a drink. So I started keeping a flask in my truck, a little nip before work, just to steady the hands, just to get through the morning. That's what I told myself, just to get through. Linda found the flask. She didn't yell, she didn't cry. She just looked at me with this expression I'll never forget. It wasn't anger, it wasn't sadness, it was resignation. Like she'd finally accepted that this was who I was. That look was worse than any argument we ever had. Now let me tell you about the Tuesday. I was 57. It was October. A regular Tuesday, nothing special about it. I'd been drinking the night before, like always. Woke up feeling rough, like always. Drove to work, like always. But that morning I stopped at a red light on Parker Street, and I looked to my right. There was a man sitting on the bus stop bench, maybe 70 years old, thin, yellow skin, shaking hands. He had a brown bag between his knees, and he was just sitting there, staring at nothing. Eyes empty. Gone. And I recognized him. Not his face. I didn't know who he was. I recognized the look. The same flat eyes my son described. The same emptiness. I sat at that red light, and I looked at that man, and I saw myself in 10 years. That was me. That was where I was going. Not maybe, not possibly. That was the destination. The light turned green. I drove to work. I didn't say anything to anyone, but something had cracked open inside me. Something I couldn't close again. That night I came home. Linda was in the kitchen. I sat down at the table and I said, "I need help." Just like that. 3 words. She stopped what she was doing. She turned around. She didn't say anything for a long time. Then she walked over, sat down across from me, and took my hands. And she just held them. Didn't ask questions. Didn't say I told you so. Just held my hands while I cried at my own kitchen table like a child. I checked into a treatment center a week later. 28 days. The withdrawal was the worst thing I've ever been through. Shaking, sweating, vomiting, hallucinations. There was one night, the 3rd night, I thought I was going to die. I genuinely believed my body was shutting down. A nurse sat with me the whole night. She said, "Your body's been poisoned for 25 years. It's going to fight you on the way out." She was right. But I made it through. When I came home, everything was different. Not the house, not Linda, me. I could see clearly for the first time in decades. I could see the damage, the distance between me and Michael, the way Sarah flinched when I raised my voice, even sober, the lines on Linda's face that I'd put there, the missed years, the empty chair I'd been sitting in for a quarter century. Getting sober doesn't fix everything. That's something they don't tell you. You stop drinking and you expect applause. You expect everyone to forgive you. But forgiveness takes time. Michael didn't trust me for years. He'd visit and I could see him watching me, checking my eyes, smelling my breath. My own son inspecting me like I was a suspect. And I deserved it. Every bit of it. Sarah was more forgiving. She hugged me the day I came home from treatment and said, "I'm proud of you, Daddy." I almost broke right there, because I thought about that 9-year-old girl bringing me water, trying to save her father, and I realized she'd been waiting 20 years for that moment. Linda and I stayed together. We're still together. She's 66 now. We don't talk about those years much. Not because we're avoiding it, but because we've said everything that needs to be said. She forgave me. I don't fully understand how, but she did. I've been sober for 11 years now. I go to meetings every Thursday. Not because I need to, because I want to. Because it reminds me where I was and where I'm not anymore. Here's what I learned. Nobody can stop you from drinking except you. Linda couldn't. My kids couldn't. My doctor couldn't. Rehab couldn't. The only thing that stopped me was seeing the truth, seeing where I was headed. That man on the bench didn't say a word to me. He didn't know I existed. But he saved my life. If you're watching this and you're hiding bottles, if you're lying about how much you drink, if you're telling yourself you've got it under control, you don't. I know you think you do. I thought I did for 25 years. But you don't. And here's the other thing nobody tells you. Sobriety isn't some beautiful awakening where the sun comes out and everything's perfect. It's hard. It's boring sometimes. It's sitting with your own thoughts for the first time in decades and not liking what you hear. But it's real. And after 25 years of living in a fog, real is enough. I'm 68 years old. I wasted 25 years of my life. I can't get those years back. But I've got these ones, and I'm not wasting them. If this story resonated with you, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, tell me your story. And if you're struggling right now, just know this. It's not too late. If a stubborn old fool like me can do it, so can you.